reunited with his family, with his brothers and his father. Dear little friends, do you still remember in the last story of Joseph that there was a famine in the land of Egypt? People were hungry because there was no food. But Joseph had stored a lot of food up and everyone was buying the food from him. Let us hear what happened further during the time of the famine. When Joseph's father Jacob learned that there was food in Egypt, he sent his sons, Joseph's brothers, to go and buy food. But Jacob did not send Benjamin, Joseph's brother, with the others, because he was afraid that something might happen to him. So when Joseph's brothers arrived, they bowed down to him with their faces to the ground. As soon as Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them, but he pretended to be a stranger and spoke harshly to them. "Where do you come from?" he asked them. "From the land of Canaan," they replied, "to buy food." Although Joseph recognized his brothers, they did not recognize him. Then he remembered his dreams about them and said to them, "You are spies." "No, my lord," they answered. "Your servants have come to buy food. We are all the sons of one man. Your servants are honest men, not spies." So Joseph said, "Send one of your brothers to get your youngest brother. The rest of you will be kept in prison, so that your words may be tested to see if you are telling the truth." They said to one another, "Surely we are being punished because of our brother Joseph. We saw how scared he was when he pleaded with us for his life, but we would not listen. That's why all this has come to us." They did not realize that Joseph could understand them. Joseph turned away from them and began to cry, but then came back and spoke to them again. He had Simeon, their brother, taken from them and bound before their eyes. Joseph gave orders to fill their bags with grain, to put each man's silver back in his sack, and to give them provisions for their journey. After this was done for them, they loaded their grain on their donkeys and left. At the place where they stopped for the night, one of them opened his sack to get feed for his donkey, and he saw his silver in the mouth of his sack. "My silver has been returned," he said to his brothers. "Here it is in my sack." Their hearts sank and they turned to each other trembling and said, "What is this that God has done to us?" When they came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan, they told him all that had happened to them. They said, "The man who is Lord over this land spoke harshly to us and treated us though we were spying on the land. But we said to him, 'We are honest men, we are not spies. We were 12 brothers, sons of one father. One is no more, and the youngest is now with our father in Canaan.' Then the man who is Lord over the land said to us, 'This is how I will know whether you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me, and take food for your starving households and go. But bring your youngest brother to me, so I will know that you are not spies, but honest men.' Their father Jacob said to them, 'You have deprived me of children. Joseph is no more, and Simeon is no more, and now you want to take Benjamin. Everything is against me.' Jacob said, 'My son will not go down there with you. His brother is dead, and he is the only one left.' So when they had all eaten the grain that they had brought from Egypt, their father said to them, 'Go back and buy us a little more food.' But Judah said to him, 'The man warned us solemnly, you will not see my face again unless your brother is with you. Take your brother also and go back to the man at once. And may God Almighty grant you mercy before the man, so that he will let your other brother and Benjamin come back with you.' They hurried down to Egypt and presented themselves to Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of his house, 'Take these men to my house, slaughter an animal and prepare a meal. They are to eat with me at noon.' When Joseph came home, they presented to him the gifts they had brought into the house, and they bowed down before him to the ground. He asked them how they were, and then he said, 'How is your aged father you told me about? Is he still living?' They replied, 'Your servant, our father, is still alive and well.' As he looked about and saw his brother Benjamin, his own mother's son, he asked, 'Is this your youngest brother, the one you told me about?' And he said, 'God be gracious to you, my son.' Deeply moved at the sight of his brother, Joseph hurried out and looked for a place to cry. He went into his private room and cried there. When portions were served to them from Joseph's table, Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as anyone else's. Now Joseph gave these instructions to the steward of his house. Fill the men's sacks with as much food as they can carry, and put each man's silver in the mouth of his sack. Then put my cup, the silver one, in the mouth of the youngest son, along with the silver for his grain. And he did as Joseph said. As morning dawned, the men were sent on their way with their donkeys. They had not gone far from the city when Joseph said to his steward, Go after these men at once, and when you catch up with them, say, Why have you repaid good with evil? Isn't this the cup my master drinks from? This is a wicked thing you have done. When he caught up with them, he repeated these words to them. Each of them quickly lowered his sack to the ground and opened it. Then the steward proceeded to search, beginning with the oldest and ending with the youngest. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. At this they tore their clothes. Then they all loaded their donkeys and returned to the city. Joseph was still in the house when Judah and his brothers came in, and they threw themselves to the ground before him. What can we say to my lord? Judah replied. What can we say? How can we prove our innocence? God has uncovered your servant's guilt. We are now my lord's slaves. We ourselves and the one who was found to have the cup. But Joseph said, Far be it from me to do such a thing. Only the man who was found to have the cup will become my slave. The rest of you go back to your father in peace. Then Judah went up to him and said, Pardon your servant, my lord. Let me speak a word to my lord. Judah told Joseph everything as it happened. Now then, please let your servant remain here as my lord's slave in place of the boy, and let the boy return with his brothers. How can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? No, do not let me see the misery that would come on my father. Then Joseph could no longer control himself before all his attendants, and he cried out, and he wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard him, and Pharaoh's household heard about it. Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still living? But his brothers were not able to answer him, because they were terrified at his presence. Then Joseph said to his brothers, Come close to me. When they had done so, he said, I am your brother, Joseph, the one who you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. For 2 years now there has been famine in the land, and for the next 5 years there will be no plowing and reaping. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So then it was not you who sent me here, but God. He made me ruler of all Egypt. Now hurry back to my father and say to him, This is what your son Joseph says. God has made me lord over all Egypt. Then bring him to me. Then he threw his arms around his brother Benjamin and wept. And Benjamin embraced him, weeping. And he kissed all his brothers and wept over them. So they went up out of Egypt and came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan. They told him, Joseph is still alive. In fact, he is ruler of all Egypt. Jacob was stunned. He did not believe them. But when they told him everything Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the carts Joseph had sent to carry him back, the spirit of their father Jacob revived, and he said, I am convinced my son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die. Now Jacob sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph to get directions to Goshen. When they arrived in the region of Goshen, Joseph had his chariot made ready and went to Goshen to meet his father. As soon as Joseph appeared before him, he threw his arms around his father and wept for a long time. Jacob said to Joseph, Now I am ready to die, since I have seen for myself that you are still alive. So Joseph put his father and his brothers in Egypt and gave them houses in the best part of the land. Joseph also provided his father and his brothers and all his father's household with food according to the number of their children. My little friends, This story ended so well with Joseph taking care of all his brothers and his father. The lesson I want us to learn here is this. We should forgive our brothers and sisters when they have hurt us. We see here that Joseph's brothers sold him as a slave, and they lied to his father that he was dead. But Joseph was not angry at them, because he knew that even though his brothers did evil, but God used it for good. Joseph was used by God to make sure that all his family had food and that they did not die of hunger. Joseph forgave his brothers, my friends, and we should also forgive those who hurt us. Wow, that is such a great ending to this beautiful story of Joseph and his brothers and his father. How God brought them back together and how he forgave his brothers for all the wrong things that they done to him. How his father saw Joseph again and he was so happy to see his son again. That is so beautiful, my little friends. But we must not forget the lesson that we have to learn in the story, my friends. And we must remember that lesson that Auntie told you. And you must remember also that Auntie loves you, but Jesus Christ loves you so much more. And you must stay safe until the next time. Bye.